Hey folks, Unitic here. I'm at Murfreesboro Lake State Park in southern Illinois, just outside of Murfreesboro. And I'm using my old camera today because I've had an aborted attempt to use the new GoPro that Drew got us for the Trek for Truth to give you a video tour of my equipment, camping and biking. Several folks had asked for a little more detailed look at how I survive out here on the trail / road. But apparently I didn't charge the GoPro battery. I did charge it at home. I don't know if I left the camera on or what, but it's drained. And seeing as how I don't have access to an outlet out here, I'll have to use the old-fashioned camera, which does a good job too, till I can get the GoPro charged back up and hopefully give you some live action shots. I'll show it to you here in a second. I've got it mounted to the top of my helmet. But let me start off with just showing you the bike gear, and then I'll show you a little more detailed look at some of my camping gear that some people had asked for a little deeper dive into, in case you want to do some of this stuff. Anyway, this is Thursday, and I've started last Friday, July the 31st, so I'm making myself take a whole day off today. First 6 days I've pedaled about 345 miles, mostly rolling hills in western Kentucky, parts of southern Indiana and southern Illinois. Had a couple of flat days, but most of it's been up and down, up and down. So my quads are feeling it. My derriere is feeling it from being on that saddle so much, and when you got a lot of hills, you've got to stay, at least I do with a heavy load, got to stay seated on your bike a long time, and it puts a lot of pressure. So I'm giving those regions a day off too, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. But anyway, let me show you the bike, because I'm also going to do some maintenance today, and I'll show you a little bit about basic bike maintenance when you're out on an adventure. So here it is. This is a Surly long haul trucker. It's actually called a disc trucker because it has disc brakes, which give me a little better stopping power on steep hills with a fully loaded bicycle. You know, when this is completely loaded out, you're talking probably 70 pounds plus, compared to my racing bicycle, which weighs about 16, carbon fiber, super lightweight, and other than me, it flies up the hills. This one is made out of steel. I sometimes call it kind of the SUV of the bike world. It's designed to go a long way over, you know, tough terrain, carry a lot of weight, be rugged and durable, and smooth riding. And it's every bit of those. It's performed flawlessly this first week. Really like it. Got great reviews. Thanks to Clarksville Schwinn for giving Trek for Truth a great deal on this bike. Definitely encourage you to go shop in Clarksville. Clarksville Schwinn, Bob Peters and the gang, for your bike needs in Kentuckiana. My racing bike came from them as well, and they sponsored our racing team. They sponsored the Red Cross Ride for the Red when I worked for the Red Cross, still do. They sponsor the Old Kentucky Home Bicycle Tour. They're just all things cycling in Kentuckiana, and that's a reason they've been around for decades. So you can see it mounts 3 water bottles. Probably one of the more important features is that crank set that I'm focusing on right there. It's a 3-chain ring, which gives me a wide variety of gears to get up hills primarily. And the lower the sprocket count, the tooth count on the smaller ring, the more I can spin, if you will, up steeper hills. So this is geared for heavyweight touring up steep hills. It's got a 26 tooth small chain ring. You can't really see it, it's on the inside of that triple chain ring. And that, coupled with the cassette on the back, the small chain ring with the largest cassette, that's a 32 tooth, the largest circular chain ring there, gives me the best ratio for climbing steep hills. I can keep spinning those pedals around. I go slow, but I don't exhaust my legs or my lungs on very long steep hills. You can see behind that is the rear disc brake, and I've really loved those. They do better than cantilever brakes, which I had on my old cyclocross bike, and definitely stopped me faster. Yesterday I was riding in the rain, and I was very grateful that I had better stopping power. My trunk rack there is really for all my maintenance gear for the bike. I've got some tire inflators in there, inflating cartridge in there, tire levers for changing tires, lube and the like. This is a little box that I'm carrying that has chain tools, my headlight recharger for that, patch kit, some other items that you need. You can see my flasher on the back. A frame pump. This is a really good pump for being able to air up those tires every day. It's really important to keep your tires inflated at the right pressure. Too low and you may get something called a pinch flat, because these have inner tubes inside these tires, and if you hit a stick or a curb or any kind of a rough spot in the road, you can compress that tire and basically cause what looks like snake fang bites in your tire and your tube, and you'll be patching pretty quick. So you got to keep those inflated. These are the racks that hold what some people call saddlebags, but they're actually called panniers. And that's these. These are my rear panniers. They really are like saddlebags. They attach, really simple but secure manner, almost one-handed, and I can pop them off with these little cantilever levers right off the rack and pop them right back on again, which I want to thank my friend Mark Luking for advising me on this purchase, because you do take them on and off a lot, and it's great to be able to make that simple. And they're stable, durable, and they are waterproof. I rode in a steady downpour yesterday and gave them a good test. Those are my cycling shoes, some lace-up ones I've had for years, but they're working great. It's nice to be able to adjust the tension as your feet swell during the day. My ode to the old team Louisville, my first racing team, and the folks that taught me how to race. These are my socks and gloves from that era, fleur-de-lis, in honor of my hometown of Louisville. And lastly, I'll give you a quick look. This is the handlebar bag, and as you can see in the top, this is where I keep my map for the day. These are Adventure Cycling Association maps. This section is for the Trans-America Trail, which I just picked up in Murfreesboro and be taking it to Pueblo, Colorado. And in here I'll keep things like my cell phone, charger, got my camera in here, some snacks, that kind of thing. It even comes with a little waterproof cover that deploys out of a zippered pocket in the bottom. And lastly, I'll mention I did put just a basic fender on the front. This actually was a mountain bike fender that I had. I never fixed it to my mountain bike, but it works great on here. Keeps you from getting water sprayed up on you from the underside when you're forced to pedal in those downpours. Trip computer, mostly for navigation, so I can keep track between turns how far I've gone. And every biker should carry a tool bag that stays affixed to their seat post. So no matter what other gear you've got hooked on here, you've always got the basics to change a tire and re-inflate it and handle those emergencies. So real quick, some of the backpacking gear. You can see there's my helmet with the GoPro on it. Hopefully we'll show you a video of that later on. A couple of other essential items for long distance biking. Chamois cream, that is to keep those seat related parts, body parts, nice and lubricated. Friction is a bad thing there. Antibacterial wipes. You just need some kind of a wipe to be able to keep yourself clean and dry down there, because bike shorts tend to cause a lot of humidity and can cause rashes and that kind of thing, which is not fun if you got to pedal every day. These are waterproof bags that I keep clothing in. This is kind of my everyday clothing, and this is cycling clothing. Try to keep that at a minimum. This is my food bag. Carried that on the Appalachian Trail, carried it on the first 1,100 miles of foot travel on this trail, and usually try to keep, for this section, the riding part, a day or two of food, because usually I'm making towns every day, so I don't have to carry a lot. Ditty bag with toiletries, vitamins, other things I need on a daily basis. This I really love. This is my stove kit, and it's part kit and store-bought, and part that I let me pull it apart here off camera. That is a GSI Minimalist, and that nests down in this grease pot, some people call it, that I got from Walmart. Inside of this is my alcohol for my stove. This is my stove. It's a cat stove, and it just burns denatured alcohol. You can also use the yellow bottles of heat, gasoline antifreeze, so you can refuel on the road pretty much anywhere there's a convenience store or a gas station. This is just an insulator to put the stove on. This is my windscreen. I like this GSI Minimalist. It's an aluminum piece. This is a removable insulator, which is great for keeping your coffee warm. You know, I could probably get by with just using one pot or another, but sorry, got off camera there. But I like being able to make my oatmeal and have my coffee at the same time in the morning, so I can't do this one-handed, but this little net comes off, and I made, using some YouTube videos, a windshield reflector insulator, just using windshield reflector, Reflectix it's called, and it keeps everything in that pot hot, and when I'm cooking stuff, it saves me fuel, because I can get the water hot, rehydrate noodles, put a lid on it, and it'll continue to cook inside that pot. So that's been a wonderful piece of gear. There's another piece of Reflectix that I carried on the AT. This is just great multi-use stuff. You can use it for a seat pad. When it's wet, you got something dry to sit on. I can use it for extra insulation in my hammock. Just a lot, and it weighs next to nothing. So let me take you over and show you the hammock stuff now real quick. And I'll start off. This is my tarp, and it's in something called snake skins, which are like long tubular mesh that allow you to have the tarp hung, but I don't have to have it down and staked out if it's a nice, you know, breezy day and I want the airflow. But I've already got it affixed to the trees, and it's ready to deploy, because these snake skins, I'll show you real quick, just slide back, you know, from one end to the other, and then the tarp will fold out and I can stake it down to the ground. It's made out of Cuban fiber. It's a type of sailcloth, kind of pricey but super light. I think that tarp with the rigging weighs about 6 ounces. My hammock, I think you've seen before, with this is from Bias, Butt in a Sling Hammocks. Great folks down in Tennessee. Highly encourage you to check out their hammocks. They also donate, this is called the Weight Weenie Micro, and I think it weighs 7 ounces. And the bug net is their Buginator, Nano Buginator, made of a real fine mesh. It's been super durable for me, very lightweight. I think it's 7 ounces. And they donated that to me for the trek, for the Journey Through Lime hike on the Appalachian Trail. Thanks, guys. And this is a little mesh ridgeline bag, they call it. This is the ridgeline, this little yellow cord. It basically helps you get a good pitch, because if you get that at the right tension, you know you've got the right angles on your cordage. You basically want to try that when you're in the hammock, these lines are hanging at about a 30-degree angle, which will give you the right lay, they call it, in your hammock, and make sure you can get flat. You land these things diagonally, not lengthwise, so you get like feet off to one side and head to the other. It's like a Brazilian hammock lay, they call it, and you'll get nice and flat, not the banana hammock, which wouldn't be very comfortable sleeping overnight. I sleep in this year-round. If I can, I sleep in it at home. Made a hammock stand because it's done wonders for my almost lifelong back problems. And this is a key piece of gear, I think, for a hammock. This is my underquilt. This hangs up underneath the hammock from these shock cords, and it basically provides like what the bottom of a sleeping bag would do for you, but it prevents the down that's inside of this underquilt from being crushed. It has to be fluffy in order to provide the insulation you need. And the thing about hammocks is, literally, if it gets below 70 degrees and you get a breeze, you will get what's called CBS, cold butt syndrome. So here lately, it's been so warm at night that I actually have slept without the underquilt. because it'll make me a little too warm. But even in the summertime, you know, if it gets down to 65 degrees, it'll wake you up in the middle of the night. And so an underquilt is a great piece of gear. This is just 2/3 of your body length. They call it a torso length underquilt. I think that's 12.5 ounces. You can see my cycling shorts are being tried out. And this whole system works great for me. These are called tree straps, and they're wide nylon straps that help protect the tree. You don't want to use anything that's going to cut into them, you know, because this will be under my weight. The tarp, these lines really don't put any pressure on the tree. They won't dig into the tree because there's really no weight. Like I said, this thing weighs 6 ounces, and even when it's staked down, it's not putting a great deal of pressure. I do have a tent with me, and I'll just show you that really quick. This is a tarp tent notch by Henry Shire's Tarp Tents, another what's called cottage manufacturer that is a business sprung up by somebody who backpacks and started their own business, like Butt and the Sling Hammocks. That thing weighs, I think, 28 ounces roughly, and it's a solo person tent with 2 vestibules, bug netting. It can be set up independently with just the bug netting or the whole tent body. And I brought it because there'll be times very soon when I get further west where I won't have trees to hang from, and I'll have to switch over to a tent. And sometimes there are occasions where some state parks don't allow you to hang hammocks, so it's my backup plan. I have a Neo Air mattress with me too, that if I ever have to sleep in a hostel or in a park, someplace where I can't hang the hammock. Happened to me a few times on the Appalachian Trail that I'm not laying on the cold hard ground, because that doesn't work very well. So that's my gear tour. That's pretty much everything I'm carrying. And yeah, I haven't weighed it all as far as the bike packing total. I did as a backpacker, and my total load with like 3 days of water and 3 days of food and a couple liters of water was about 25, 26 pounds. With the weight of the racks and the bags and all that, I'm estimating, you know, that bike, including the bike, may be upwards of 70, 75 pounds when I'm pedaling uphill with a full load of water and some food. It is heavy, and I may work as best I can to cut the weight down over time. So this is going a little long, but just wanted to give you a detailed look for those that might be interested in doing something like this. So for today, that is Unitic out.